There are a few ways you could help us solve this case. The primary way is if you take a direct-to-consumer DNA test, and by that I mean a test like Ancestry DNA, 23andMe, or MyHeritage. And once you receive the results from that test, you download your profile and upload it to the databases that we are allowed to use for our work. And we have 3 approved databases where our DOE's profile is available to compare to other people. Those are DNA Justice, GEDmatch, and Family Tree DNA. And you can go to our YouTube channel for instructions on how to upload your profile there. Now, it's important that you read the terms and services for the direct-to-consumer tests and for the sites where you will upload to make sure you're comfortable with how your information will be used and stored. But this could be a great help not only for this case, but for all of the other African-American DOE cases that are being worked on, not only by DNA DOE Project, but by other investigative genetic genealogy partners. And if you've already tested, you can skip right to that upload piece. And the tests are relatively inexpensive now. You can easily find one for $40. So that's the best way you can help us. You can then share the information about this case with your friends and family. They might also be willing to upload. The more people who do, the more likely we're able to find a match or a few matches that can point us in the right direction and help us solve this case. As you might have seen on the episode of Naming the Dead about this case, African-American cases are just more difficult on average, and that's for a few reasons. Part of it is because of the lack of representation in the DNA databases. Fewer people with that ancestry upload their profiles, and that means that when we get our DNA matches to our DOE, there tend to be fewer of them, and they tend to be more distant. The other piece has to do with the records we need to build the family trees of those matches. Because of the history of enslavement in this country, we run into the problem of having very few records prior to 1870 that have sufficient information for us to confidently build those trees. And there are other aspects of enslavement that also make this very challenging. Families were often broken up, children, siblings, families sold off to different enslavers and moved all around the country. So we don't have the geographic continuity, we don't have the name continuity, we have none of that like we do in other types of populations. So all of these factors combine to make this research very difficult. Sometimes you're lucky and you can find some records that are helpful, but other times it just takes a lot of trial and error, making a hypothesis, testing it out, and then trying again. And that's what we're doing. We won't give up, but this work is often slow and a bit tedious. But that's just the way it is for these cases, and we have lots of experience with it, and we're going to keep going until we solve it. We have some theories about the ancestral geographical roots of our DOE. But of course, because of the challenges with this kind of research of people who come from enslaved populations, we can't be sure. We are reasonably confident that on his father's side, he has roots in Louisiana, and particularly in the St. Landry Parish area. The mother's side is a little bit harder for us to say. We know that we have many matches who tie to one particular formerly enslaved woman who was in Alabama. But again, it could be that our DOE is actually descended from a sibling of hers who was in an entirely different state. So we're a little less sure on that geography. And then we have to look at where did the DOE's parents meet. We think Texas is a possibility just based on typical migration patterns after enslavement ended, and also based on what we're seeing in the matches that we've studied. But we can't be sure. We are open to anything, but those are all areas that we're keeping a pretty close eye on. We have to remember that this gentleman passed away in 1961, and it was a very different world then than it is now. Contact with families could be much more sporadic, and you wouldn't necessarily think that someone was missing or something happened to them right away. It's not like now where, I don't know about most people, but my kids are texting me every single day, so I would know right away if something happened to them. So there's that contextual element, and it could be that they were looking for them at that time. We didn't have the kind of computerized systems that we have now where we can report people missing and it's known across the country. Again, it was just a very different world, so it's very hard to speculate about that. But no matter what, we do know that it's important to the family to find out what happened to him, and that's why we do what we do.